Most people think bedtime is safe. You brushed your teeth, you took your meds, you're under the covers. What could possibly go wrong? But for millions with diabetes or prediabetes, the hours between midnight and 6 a.m. are when the body stages a quiet rebellion. Blood sugar doesn't sleep when you do. It moves, it spikes, it crashes, and in some cases, it kills. A 2019 study published in Diabetes Care tracked over 10,000 patients with type 2 diabetes and found that nocturnal glucose variability, the wild swings that happen while you're unconscious, was directly linked to sudden cardiac events during sleep. Not heart attacks that wake you up. Events that happen silently, in the dark, while your brain is dreaming and your pancreas is failing. The scariest part? Most of these deadly spikes are triggered by things people do in the 2 hours before bed, things that seem harmless, things doctors rarely warn you about. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what those triggers are, and you'll understand why number 4 on this list is so dangerous that it's been called a silent accelerator of diabetic complications. But here's what matters right now. Understanding the spikes is one thing. Building a full strategy that keeps your glucose stable across the entire night is another. Research shows that most nocturnal glucose disasters happen because people only focus on what they eat for dinner. But they ignore what happens hormonally between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. when cortisol rises and insulin sensitivity drops. There's a complete overnight protocol in the description that addresses this. It includes specific meal timing windows, the exact supplements shown to flatten nocturnal glucose curves, and a metabolic routine designed specifically for people over 50 managing type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. It walks you through the full 24-hour cycle, not just the evening. The link is in the description below or pinned at the top of the comments. Before we get to the 5 triggers, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your body at night. When you fall asleep, your metabolism doesn't shut down, it shifts. Your liver starts releasing stored glucose to fuel your brain, your muscles enter repair mode, and your pancreas is supposed to quietly manage insulin output to keep everything balanced. But in people with insulin resistance or diabetes, this system is already broken. The pancreas is sluggish, the cells are unresponsive, and the liver often releases too much glucose because it's not getting the hormonal signals it needs. Add a bedtime trigger on top of that fragile system and you don't get a gentle rise, you get a spike. A study from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology found that nocturnal hyperglycemia, sustained high blood sugar during sleep, dramatically increases oxidative stress, which damages blood vessels, thickens arterial walls, and sets the stage for both stroke and heart failure. But here's the part that makes this so sinister. You don't feel it. There's no alarm, no sweating, no dizziness. You're asleep. Your body is silently drowning in glucose, your heart is straining, and by morning, all you notice is that you wake up tired or thirsty. That's it. Meanwhile, the damage is cumulative. Night after night, those spikes carve deeper into your vascular system, your kidneys, your nerves. Researchers now believe that for people over 50 with poor glucose control, nighttime is more dangerous than daytime because there's no conscious intervention, no chance to correct, no water to drink, no walk to take. Your body is on its own. And if you're doing any of the 5 things we're about to cover, you're making that fight impossible. Number 1, eating carbs within 2 hours of sleep. You've heard it before, don't eat late. But most people think this is about weight gain or digestion. It's not. It's about insulin timing. When you eat carbohydrates, your pancreas releases insulin to shuttle glucose into cells. In a healthy person, this happens fast and efficiently. But in someone with diabetes or insulin resistance, the process is delayed and weak. The glucose enters your bloodstream quickly, but the insulin response is slow and insufficient. If this happens 2 hours before bed, your blood sugar is still elevated when you lie down. And here's the kicker. When you sleep, insulin sensitivity drops even further. A 2017 study in Diabetologia found that late-night carbohydrate intake in diabetics led to glucose levels that stayed elevated for up to 6 hours, well into the deep sleep cycle. That means your heart, your kidneys, and your brain are bathing in sugar while your body is trying to repair itself. The inflammation this creates is profound. It triggers the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which damage endothelial cells lining your blood vessels. Over time, this leads to atherosclerosis, the hardening and narrowing of arteries that precedes most heart attacks and strokes. And because it's happening at night, you have no idea. You might wake up feeling fine, but your fasting glucose test the next morning tells the truth. It's high, and you don't know why. If you're eating toast, crackers, fruit, cereal, or even a small dessert after 8 p.m., you're setting yourself up for a nocturnal disaster. This isn't about willpower, it's about biochemistry. Your body can't process those carbs the way it used to, and nighttime makes everything worse. Number 2, skipping your evening medication dose or taking it inconsistently. This one sounds obvious, but it's shockingly common, and the consequences are immediate. Many people with type 2 diabetes are prescribed long-acting insulin or medications like metformin that are supposed to be taken at night specifically to control dawn phenomenon, the natural glucose spike that happens between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. when your liver dumps stored sugar into your bloodstream. If you skip that dose or take it 3 hours later than usual, you lose the protective window. A study published in Diabetes Research and Clinical Practice followed patients who took their medications inconsistently and found that even a single missed evening dose led to fasting glucose levels that were 40 to 60 mg/dL higher the next morning. That might not sound like much, but when your baseline is already elevated, that extra spike pushes you into the danger zone, the range where microvascular damage accelerates, where your kidneys start filtering protein into your urine, where your retinas begin to hemorrhage. And here's what makes this so tragic. People don't skip doses because they don't care. They skip them because they're tired, because they forgot, because the bottle was downstairs and they were already in bed because they felt fine and thought one night wouldn't matter. But glucose doesn't care about your intentions. It responds to chemistry. Without that medication, your cells are unprotected. The insulin isn't there to unlock the door, and the glucose just keeps circulating higher and higher, damaging everything it touches. If you've ever woken up with a pounding headache, dry mouth, or blurry vision, this might be why. Your body spent the entire night in a hyperglycemic state, and by morning the damage is done. Number 3, drinking alcohol after dinner, even just 1 glass. This is where things get truly deceptive because alcohol has a biphasic effect on blood sugar. It drops it first, then spikes it later. When you drink, your liver stops releasing glucose because it's busy metabolizing the alcohol. For the first 2 to 3 hours, your blood sugar might actually go down, which is why some people think a nightcap is harmless or even helpful. But once the liver finishes processing the alcohol, it rebounds hard. It starts dumping stored glucose into your bloodstream to compensate, and because your insulin response is already impaired, that glucose has nowhere to go. Research from the American Diabetes Association found that alcohol consumed in the evening led to significant nocturnal hypoglycemia, followed by early morning hyperglycemia, a dangerous roller coaster that stresses your cardiovascular system and disrupts sleep architecture. But here's the part no one talks about. Alcohol also interferes with REM sleep, the phase where your body regulates hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin. When REM sleep is disrupted, those hormones go haywire, which makes you wake up hungrier, more insulin-resistant, and more likely to overeat the next day. It's a vicious cycle. One glass of wine at 9 p.m. doesn't just spike your glucose at 3 a.m. It also sets you up for poor food choices the entire next day. And if you're doing this regularly, the cumulative effect is devastating. Your liver becomes increasingly sluggish, your pancreas becomes more exhausted, and your fasting glucose creeps higher every week. If you've noticed that your morning numbers are worse on weekends or after social dinners, this is probably why. The alcohol isn't just a one-night event. It's a metabolic bomb that detonates while you sleep. Number 4, going to bed stressed or emotionally activated. This is the one most people completely ignore, and it might be the most dangerous of all. Stress doesn't just live in your mind, it lives in your bloodstream. When you're stressed, anxious, or emotionally wound up, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline, both of which trigger your liver to release glucose. This is the fight or flight response, and it's designed to give you quick energy to escape danger. But when the danger is just an argument with your spouse, or worrying about bills, or replaying a difficult conversation in your head, that glucose has nowhere to go. You're lying in bed, not running from a predator, and your blood sugar is spiking, as if you are. A groundbreaking study in psychosomatic medicine tracked diabetic patients who reported high evening stress and found that their nocturnal glucose levels were significantly higher than patients who went to bed calm, even when their diets and medications were identical. The mechanism is pure endocrinology. Cortisol blocks insulin receptors, making your cells even more resistant than they already are. It also stimulates gluconeogenesis, the process where your liver manufactures new glucose from amino acids and fat. So not only is stored sugar being dumped into your blood, new sugar is being created. And because this happens at night, when you're horizontal and inactive, none of that glucose gets burned. It just circulates, damaging your nerves, your kidneys, your eyes, your heart. If you're the type of person who lies awake replaying your day, worrying about tomorrow or scrolling through upsetting news before bed, you're chemically sabotaging your glucose control. This isn't about being weak or anxious, it's about biology. Your body can't tell the difference between real danger and perceived danger, and it responds the same way, by flooding your system with sugar. Number 5, sleeping less than 6 hours or waking up multiple times during the night. Sleep isn't rest, it's metabolic recalibration. During deep sleep, your body resets insulin. Sensitivity regulates hunger hormones and clears metabolic waste from your brain. But when you don't get enough sleep, or when your sleep is fragmented, none of that happens. A landmark study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine found that just 4 nights of sleep restriction reduced insulin sensitivity by over 30%, equivalent to aging your metabolism by 10 to 20 years. And the damage isn't gradual, it's immediate. One bad night is enough to spike fasting glucose the next morning. But here's what makes this a true killer. Poor sleep also raises cortisol and inflammatory markers, which makes your blood vessels stiff and prone to clotting. It disrupts the autonomic nervous system, which controls heart rate variability, one of the strongest predictors of sudden cardiac death. So when you're only sleeping 5 hours, or waking up 3 times a night to use the bathroom because your glucose is high and your kidneys are trying to flush it out, you're stuck in a death spiral. High glucose disrupts sleep, poor sleep raises glucose, and round you go. Every night, the damage compounds. Your heart is under more strain, your pancreas is more exhausted, and your risk of a nocturnal cardiac event climbs higher. If you've been told you snore loudly, stop breathing during sleep, or wake up gasping, you likely have sleep apnea, which is epidemic among diabetics and makes all of this exponentially worse. The oxygen deprivation from apnea triggers glucose release, and the fragmented sleep prevents recovery. People die in their sleep from this, not because they were old or unlucky, because their glucose was out of control and their body couldn't take it anymore. So what do you actually do? First, stop eating carbs after 6 p.m. If you need an evening snack, make it protein and fat. A handful of nuts, a boiled egg, a piece of cheese. These won't spike insulin and they'll keep you satisfied. Second, take your medications at the exact same time every night. Set an alarm if you have to. Consistency is everything. Third, if you drink alcohol, stop doing it in the evening. If you're going to drink, do it earlier in the day and never on an empty stomach. Fourth, create a wind-down routine that actually lowers cortisol. This might mean journaling, deep breathing, a warm shower, or 10 minutes of stretching. Find what works and make it non-negotiable. And fifth, prioritize sleep like your life depends on it, because it does. Get blackout curtains, keep your bedroom cool, and if you suspect sleep apnea, get tested and treated. Your glucose control will improve within days, not weeks. Let's recap exactly what you need to stop doing tonight. 1. Eating carbs within 2 hours of sleep, which keeps your glucose elevated through the most vulnerable hours of the night. 2. Skipping or delaying your evening medication, which removes the only defense your body has against dawn phenomenon and nocturnal spikes. 3. Drinking alcohol after dinner, which creates a dangerous blood sugar roller coaster that peaks while you're unconscious. 4. Going to bed stressed or emotionally charged, which floods your system with cortisol and manufactured glucose. 5. Sleeping less than 6 hours or waking repeatedly during the night, which destroys insulin sensitivity and raises your risk of sudden cardiac events. These aren't small lifestyle tweaks. These are life or death decisions. Every single night, you're either protecting your body or sabotaging it, and the gap between the two is razor thin. Now that you understand what's happening while you sleep, the real work is building a system that protects you around the clock. Not just in the evening, but through the entire metabolic cycle your body goes through from sunset to sunrise. There's a detailed protocol in the description that covers the full picture. How to time your meals to match insulin, sensitivity windows, which specific supplements have been shown in clinical trials to flatten nocturnal glucose curves, and the daily routines that make long-term glucose stability possible. All of it designed specifically for people over 50 managing type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes. The link is in the description below or pinned at the top of the comments. Your body is trying to survive every single night, and it's fighting a battle you can't see. Don't make that fight harder than it already is.